Would you take those wires down, please?
Right, I'll get off then.
I need you to operate the equipment while I talk to the client.
What's the video?
We're reviewing some scenes we filmed about safety interventions.
Thrilling. Ready?
Hang on, we're waiting for the client. She's on her way.
Oh. What's the safety intervention?
It's what I did when I asked you to take those wires down.
Sorry.
Ah, perfect timing. Oh, this is Pete. He's our technician.
Hello, Pete.
Hello.
Have a seat.
Sorry.
So, shall we start?
Uh-huh.
Thanks, Pete.
The final agenda item, ladies and gentlemen, selection of a contractor for a large air conditioning unit. This went out to tender and we've had 3 proposals back. 1 from the manufacturer of the existing unit and 2 from new suppliers. It would seem we could make a significant saving. Savan, do you want to make a recommendation?
Okay, this is a large unit, but it's standard equipment. One of the new firms is a good $250,000 cheaper, so it's a no-brainer.
I assume all the contractors have a good HSSE record?
This is not safety critical equipment.
Then we've nothing to lose. All in favour? Carried. We've just made someone's day. Any other business?
What do you think?
Well, you've managed to capture how for most of the tender board there was a sense and intervention failure. They simply didn't recognise the risks, so they couldn't intervene.
By sense failure, do you mean common sense?
Not quite. The tender board didn't sense the existence of the hazard, so they didn't intervene.
Got it.
Well, we did show that Isha might be vaguely aware of a potential hazard.
But as so often happens, there was no intervention, nor was there any sort of challenge. Here, the size of the saving outweighed any sort of caution. At tender board level, there ought to be more analysis around safety criteria.
Are they actors?
Yes, why?
So why did they get it wrong?
We're showing how decisions made at all sorts of levels can lead to dangerous incidents down the line.
Well, why not just show them doing it right?
We have filmed alternative scenes, actually.
Yeah, that's what I'd have done.
Shall we look at the second version that we filmed?
Yes.
Version 2. And action.
Okay, this is a large unit, but it's standard equipment. One of the new firms is a good $250,000 cheaper, so it's a no-brainer.
I assume all the contractors have a good HSSE record?
This is not safety critical equipment.
Can I ask, Savannah, are we simply going for the cheapest contractor? You know the old saying, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is.
With respect, Isha, we don't simply pick the cheapest quote. These firms have a good HSSE record in our industry.
I only question how they can install this unit to the same spec as the others, but so much cheaper.
Presumably they're hoping to win more work with us. Happy, Isha? All in favour?
Pretty poor effort at intervention.
Well, if it was easy, we wouldn't need to work at it. It's a skill set which needs constant practice.
She wasn't very tactful. She put people's backs up.
You're absolutely right there, Pete. No one around that table believes they make bad decisions.
Okay, shall we view the third version?
Did they get it right this time?
I'll let you be the judge.
I assume all the contractors have a good HSSE record?
This is not safety critical equipment.
I have a couple of questions. Could you just reassure us, Savan, does this unit meet our environmental standards? And secondly, do all the contractors have a good track record with this sort of complex installation work?
Yes, all the tenders do meet environmental standards. They use non-CFC refrigerant. And on the installation point, they have all included technical descriptions of the work. Seems straightforward to me.
What are your concerns, Isha?
Well, Am I right in thinking this is quite a heavy item of equipment to be lifted into place? To be absolutely honest, I'd like more time to consider the installation risks.
We must really be sure the new contractor is working to the same safety standards as us.
We need to make a decision quickly.
I'm inclined to take Isha's view. We need to move quickly, but let's make the right decision. Thanks for your intervention, Isha. Savan, could you do a risk assessment on the installation work, and we'll review at a separate session based on all the facts.
Okay?
That was better.
What I'm showing in this scene is the tender board thinking through the health, safety and environmental implications of their decisions.
So are you saying that all hazards are management's fault?
Don't be ridiculous.
No, we're saying that interventions can and should be made at all levels of the organisation. Every decision should consider the risks and how they'll be managed.
Oh, I get it.
Actually, Pete, I think we can manage if you have other things to do.
No, this is interesting. Now, if a member of the opposing team kicks a ball from their half towards your goal, the hazard is that they score. So, our first intervention are the forwards, but they leave it thinking that it'll be picked up in midfield. Now, our midfielders leave it because it's the job of the defenders. They leave it for the goalie, but he couldn't see the ball because somebody was standing in front of him. So they score. Bosh!
That's rather simplistic.
No, actually, I think that's the perfect example. In Shell, we call this the Swiss cheese model.
Full of holes.
That's it. And we set up various barriers, which could be procedures, designs, hardware, competencies, and so on. But nothing is perfect, and so these barriers are full of holes. And that makes it look a bit like a Swiss cheese.
You see?
When the holes line up, we have an incident. So we want to try and make sure that the holes are as small as possible, and also to ensure that they don't line up. And if there is the slightest shadow of a doubt, we should intervene.
Well, even when those controls are in place.
Definitely. You can intervene at any stage because controls and processes sometimes fail.
Oh, I can see that.
Next scene, please.
Right.
Let's assume that the tender board didn't make their intervention. This is what might have happened.
All right, Ranjit.
Hey, boss.
I need you to countersign this permit to work.
Sure. Am I signing my life away?
It's about the aircon job. Head office is sending someone out to install it. It's a big lifting job.
Do we know them?
Someone new, I think.
Oh, good. We should really do a risk assessment. This might mean extra supervision.
Are you telling me my job?
No, not at all, boss.
Because if it's good enough for head office, it ought to be good enough for you.
Sure.
Happy?
Of course.
Right, well, see you later.
How often does this type of scenario happen?
Unfortunately, it's usually contractors who are involved in our serious incidents. There's an obvious potential risk, and the supervisor, Ranjit, is responsible for managing this.
But as you could see, he didn't.
Why not?
It doesn't matter why not.
No, actually, I think it does. People fail to intervene because of complex reasons like losing face or damaging their local reputation. Sometimes they simply think it isn't their job, and sometimes they have tried to intervene and been given a hard time as a result.
So there are a few things going on there. The supervisor could have intervened when he checked the permit to work, and the manager could have intervened at the head office request if he'd recognised the need for extra supervision of a new contractor.
Yes, and in the end, Ranjit was more afraid of upsetting his boss than of any hazard he might be contributing to.
Which leads us to the good intervention phase.
I need you to countersign this permit to work.
Sure, leave it there, Ashok. I'll read it later.
There's nothing much to read. It's just a permit to work form. Same as usual for the aircon lift.
Boss, that's a bigger job than normal. We might need extra supervision.
They're installing their own equipment. We can leave them to it.
I'll have to speak to their foreman first to approve their work plans. Then I'll make sure they're supervised.
Isn't that overkill? I need to get this back to head office.
I know, but it's a new contractor. They don't know the standards you expect around here, boss. What happens if something goes wrong? Someone gets hurt?
Yeah, put like that, you're right. You know, I don't want anyone injured on my watch. I appreciate your extra efforts to make the job safe.
Who needs the paperwork?
You're dead right. And if head office complains, I'll remind them that if they're going to send new guys out here, they need to make allowances for extra supervision.
Oh, much better.
Thank you for your approval.
Well, Ranjit managed to be quite firm without lecturing or annoying his boss. He knows how to phrase things in a way which is well received around there. That's half the art of intervention.
Okay, but let's look at what happens if the intervention had not succeeded. We have contractors on site without the right equipment, work practices, or supervision.
If you moved any slower, you'd be going backwards.
You cracked me up.
Is that the best you could find?
Well, what?
Well, those slings must have been used to build the pyramids.
What pyramids?
Did you go to school?
Once. Didn't like it.
Get some decent slings.
These are all right. I used them yesterday.
Yeah? How far? Lifting your lunchbox?
You're so funny.
I didn't ask you to stop it.
But this is too obvious, isn't it? Out-of-date, tatty slings. This accident waiting to happen.
Sadly, it isn't unusual. These guys feel pressure from the supervisor, who feels pressure from the manager. So it goes.
Can we review the good intervention we filmed?
Sure.
If you moved any slower, you'd be going backwards.
You cracked me up.
Have you seen these?
I've seen slings before, yes.
They're out of date.
Well, I'm not colourblind, I can see that.
Do we have any new slings?
These will do. They're a bit knackered, but they've lifted a lot heavier than this.
Well, I'm not happy with them.
Well, we're not paid to be happy. Come on, I'll get them lashed on.
It'll take 5 minutes to find the right slings.
Look, the supervisor might be around any minute, and we better look like we're working.
5 minutes.
Give me the slings, I'll do it myself.
Oh, we can't use those, mate. They're not good enough. There'll be an accident, and even if that unit doesn't kill anyone, we'll be filling out forms forever.
All right, all right.
5 minutes. Hurry up.
All right.
Hey, don't run.
Good example of looking after your mates, even if it isn't appreciated at the time.
Job done. Disaster averted.
We haven't finished.
Sorry.
We have to discuss the next section of the video, how interventions work and don't work.
Right, what have you got for us?
We've been using the Hearts and Minds tool, Working Safely, with a lot of teams. They've been using it to get better at sensing hazards.
This is good. Now, there's some stuff in here about spotting invisible hazards. What's that all about?
Those are the most dangerous ones, you know, like fatigue, someone's competence, not appreciating the risks.
But it's another exercise in the centrefold we're focusing on here, the one where teams discuss and practice interventions, what would work or not work for them. Have a look at what we cut together on what makes a bad intervention.
Shall I press play?
Please do.
Well, I don't like being lectured.
Exaggeration is very unhelpful. When people say things like, "You always do that," no, I don't.
Be made to feel stupid.
There's no excuse for rudeness. Saying things like, only an idiot would do what you're doing. You can be firm, but polite.
If people pretend that they are perfect. A supervisor once said to me, "You'll never see me doing that." Well, I did see him doing it.
People stating the obvious in a patronising way, like, "Careful with that knife, it's sharp."
People not taking the trouble to understand cultural differences.
Touching me on my head. The head is the seat of the soul.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
If you didn't keep stopping it, you'd learn even more.
Sorry.
I don't think anyone gets it right all the time.
You have to practice. I try to give feedback at good times. Then people don't just associate it with being told off.
Every team is unique, and so is every individual in that team. I try to use the approach that works best for them.
I'd say give it a go. It might be embarrassing.
But no one died of embarrassment.
So now we move on.
I see. You're saying that there's no one way to intervene. You have to tailor it to the person that you're talking to.
Exactly.
Yes, that was my intention.
There must be some common approaches, though, aren't there? You know, hints and tips.
Coming up.
Tell them what you observed, explain the concern, and suggest what they ought to be doing.
Keep it professional.
Don't be emotional or angry. Intervention is good feedback, not